You are listening to Awake in Relationship, a podcast about intimacy, community, and culture in a time of great change, with Silas Rose.
Hello, my name is Silas Rose. You are tuned into Awake in Relationship. This is another installment of my segment I'm calling On Air, which is a short monologue where I pull back the curtain on some of the ideas and inspiration that arise in the process of creating this podcast. It's a new year, and it's also getting close to the 2-year anniversary of the launch of Awake in Relationship, which is somewhat mind-blowing. I'm 35 episodes into this journey, and for the benefit of new listeners, I thought I'd reintroduce the podcast and talk a little bit about the why behind the show. I launched in February 2020, right around the time when reports were coming out of China around some mysterious bat virus. So you could say that this show is very much a COVID baby. The pandemic was the latest in a series of earth-shaking events in my personal life. In a short period of time, I said goodbye to my parents, a close personal mentor, and my spiritual community that suddenly dissolved in scandal. Anyone that's familiar with grief knows how disorientating it can be. According to the Tibetan Book of the Dead, these transition times are known as bardo, or intermediary state, where the familiar world we once knew just disappears. I think that's something we can all relate to at this point, as we've all been in this sort of collective bardo for the past 2 years. Many of the relationships that we've come to rely on for stability, comfort, and well-being are very stressed right now and, in some cases, breaking down. This is where the question of why Awake in Relationship comes in. The inspiration for this podcast really comes from a long-held sense that I, and perhaps the collective we, have fallen asleep at the wheel of many important relationships that sustain us. Let's face it, we've been social distancing for a while, long before COVID. Some of that neglect, speaking personally, is really just kind of pure laziness. Some of it's very much by design. If we look at the growing influence of technology in our lives, more of our attention's being consumed in virtual, disembodied spaces. In summary, it's very easy to feel disconnected. And personally, I don't feel very enthusiastic about the solutions being offered by billionaires and tech giants to fill that void. The awake in Awake in Relationship acknowledges the quality of awareness we all possess of our innate goodness and worthiness of love and connection in its many forms. This view of relationships really comes from my Buddhist training. There was a point when I really retreated into my spiritual practice as a way to escape the sort of messy nature of relationships and really some of the complex, deep feelings that they evoke. In retrospect, I think that was really necessary, for me at least, to really get a glimpse of what self-love means, which is really the first stage of any relationship. But eventually, we all have to kind of come back down from the mountain. At this point, I really see the journey of awareness and the journey of relationships as really two wings of a bird. We need both to fly. Love demands courage, and in these turbulent, changing times, we need a lot of courage to face ourselves, to face others with kindness and compassion. If you're like me, maybe you really feel the urgency of the moment, this deep desire to create a better world. I think if we're going to do that, we're going to need better relationships. Some of the content and guests you'll discover on the show really focus on specific skills, like how we show up in intimacy, work with conflict, build community, and find that perfect mate. But I also like to zoom out to the 30,000 foot level we're all part of the same social body, and that includes how we interface with the natural world, or sacred world, how we engage with our technology in dealing with some of the big issues like the climate crisis, and how we sustain our democracy into the 21st century. At its core, the show is really about the art and practice of connection. I certainly don't consider myself an expert in that realm. I'm very much a curious traveler, and I'm hoping you as the listener will feel inspired to engage in this path with me and help to build a more sane and compassionate world, the one we all dream of, one awake relationship at a time. Thank you so much for tuning in, dear listener. Till next time, stay connected.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Awake in Relationship. If you liked what you heard, please click subscribe to get the latest show delivered fresh to your device, or sign up for our newsletter at awakeinrelationship.com. Sharing is caring.